I thought it was just another HOA warning. Then I opened the envelope and saw the amount. They wanted $18,000 from me, and their president gave me only two choices: pay or leave. Linda Parker stood there like she owned the entire neighborhood. She told me the fine was final. Then she pointed toward the community gate. Pay it, or find somewhere else to live. I read every line of their violation notice. The alleged offense was something I had never agreed to, so I pulled out my original purchase documents. That's when I noticed something very strange. My deed told a completely different story. The property boundaries didn't match what the HOA claimed. Their authority stopped at a specific line, and my house was clearly on the other side of it. The next morning, Linda came back with the entire HOA board. They brought folders, notices, and plenty of confidence. Linda told me the HOA had authority over my property. I asked her one simple question: can you prove it? Linda immediately started talking about community rules. But rules weren't the question. I wanted to know what gave them legal authority over my land. She couldn't give me a straight answer. Then Linda threatened to put a lien on my house. She said the HOA could take further action if I refused to pay. I looked at the notice carefully. There was one thing missing: the legal basis for the lien. I wasn't going to argue with Linda on her driveway. Instead, I called an attorney. He examined my deed and the HOA documents side by side. Then he smiled and said, "They may have a serious problem." A few weeks later, we were standing before a judge. Linda arrived expecting the HOA to win easily. She brought the violation notice and their rule book. I brought something much more important: my deed. The judge looked at Linda and asked for proof of ownership. Then he asked a question that changed everything. "Where's your deed?" Linda suddenly realized she had been fighting over property the HOA didn't own. Linda tried to explain that the HOA had always controlled the property. She talked about community rules and past enforcement. But the judge wasn't asking about tradition. He wanted to see the document that gave them authority. My attorney placed my original deed before the judge. It showed exactly where my property began and ended. The boundaries were unmistakable, and the HOA's claimed authority stopped short of my land. Then came the property survey. The boundary line was marked in black and impossible to misunderstand. My home was outside the HOA's legal jurisdiction. Linda's entire argument was collapsing in front of the judge. Linda finally realized what she had done. She had issued fines to someone who wasn't legally subject to them. Then she had threatened my home with a lien, all without verifying the deed first. The judge turned toward the HOA board. He asked how they had verified their jurisdiction before issuing the fine. Nobody answered immediately. That silence told the judge everything he needed to know. The judge reviewed the $18,000 demand one final time. Then he rejected the HOA's claim against my property. The fine was gone, so was their threat to force me out. But the judge wasn't finished. He ordered the HOA to withdraw the improper notice. He also warned them against taking further action against my property. For the first time, Linda had nothing left to argue. Outside the courthouse, Linda walked past without saying a word. Her confidence from that first day was completely gone. I held my deed in my hand as I walked down the steps. The document they ignored had protected everything. A few days later, Linda came back to my house. This time she wasn't threatening me. She handed me the canceled violation notice. Then she quietly admitted the HOA had crossed the line. I never paid that $18,000 fine. I never left my home. The HOA learned an important lesson that day. Never threaten someone's property. I was leaving until you only actually checked the deed. My